Hello there. After all the big patch, 116 is well and truly with us. Everyone's playing with all the new champions and new landmarks and the new units that we've got with the final expansion to Call of the Mountain. My name is Seth Holocron. This is a Donger deck discussion. I'm going over an oldie but a goodie. ELISE is just great. Callista is just great. Let's go for a very quick sort of 10-minute trip down memory lane, and as good as I've ever seen an ELISE deck ever. So here is my version of Fearsome. I think this is a super deck. So we'll pull it up, and as I have said before, any deck that we have ever used with ELISE, there she is, lovely lady. It's probably the first deck you went crafting with. Spiders just seems to be great. Even in this meta right now in December 2020, there are still daily quests you can do with attack with spiders, and yeah, this deck has now got enough tools that I've seen on various LOR discords. People are crafting away and they're using a couple of ELISE because you get it free, and then one Callista and a Darius and all that sort of stuff, and people really try. So nothing wrong with those decks whatsoever. If you're just starting in the game, it's a brilliant way to learn it. It's a brilliant way to learn what keywords do and all that sort of stuff. But after you've been playing it for like maybe 4 or 5 weeks or whatever, you'll be able to like craft new cards, and crafting new cards is super key. So like when they put out a new expansion or a new patch or a new balance update or whatever it happens to be, you'll kind of see. So like for instance, if I wanted to craft a Zoe, I would need a wild card, 300 coins, which you can only get by investing money, and shards. And you get a ton of shards by getting as far through the weekly vault as you can. If you have a card already, they give you shards. It's anything between 15 and 60 and 75, depending on what sort of how much they're worth. And then you get like maybe a couple of hundred at the end. So for instance, let us not go for a let us go for the champion, because this is the most expensive. It's 3,000 for one of those, 300 on a wild card. Okay, so that's that. So let's go down to say something like a cheapie. So 100 will get you a Lanari Duskbringer. Hapless Aristocrat, a little bit more in mind with where we're going, because it gives you a spider, will cost a grand total of also 100. The same with Bark Beast. All these things are very good indeed. And you want to be trying to get as many spiders in your deck as is humanly possible. And I'm trying to find the card that I really like. So here's another one. This card is fantastic. It's so fantastic I'm running 3 of, but 300 will get you Doom Beasts. Nightfall, make it your second card that you play, and you drain 2 from the enemy nexus. Can win you games, believe me. So let me actually go into my deck, and it is just Fearsome. I'm using 3 Targon cards. Now I'm going to show you what the 3 Targon cards are, and it's this. It's Pale Cascade. Now we could take stuff out of this and maybe even make it better and go to a completely Shadow Wilds deck, because there's you get a lot of like little 1/1s that die a lot. Okay, so for instance, when you throw out ELISE, let me bring up ELISE. I'm sure you all know that you get this every time you attack as a 1/1 Spiderling. Now, this is a great little card. Really good. Excellent to take off people. I'm running 2 Mark of the Isles, which is burst speed, grant an ally +2/+2. So 2 extra attack, 2 extra power, and 2 extra health. Make it a bit beefier. So the 1/1 would then become a 3/3 and then explode, because that's what ephemeral means. It dies at the end of the round, or when it strikes, it just goes away. Great card. Pale Cascade is annoying me because I adore Targon decks. I have built brilliant Targon decks, but if I was taking this to a tournament, which I want to do, I cannot put Pale Cascade in. So I'm going to take Pale Cascade out. I'm going to put in a card that costs a whole 1. I'm going to put in 3 Absorb Souls. Now we are a completely 100% Shadow Wilds deck. We have all the allegiance in the world, which we need. And this is just fantastic. And to be honest, in nearly every Targon deck in the world, keeping people alive is brilliant. I want you to kill yourself because we're running a card that brings back all your biggest, most horrible things going. And those are fantastically, monstrously brilliant because they're all fearsome. Let me show you how this deck works. Fearsome, if I can find my ELISE, there we go. So Fearsome can only be blocked by enemies with 3 or more power, and the vast majority of stuff is around 3. But early doors, Fearsome, you're just getting loads of early chip damage in. Loads and loads for at least the early part of the game. For the first 3 or 4 rounds, most people can't block you. An awful lot of it are 2-1s. So if I just even go through Targon, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, he can when he's put down, but not after. No, 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 no. So you can see even in the 2, okay, the goat can. He can. He can't block at all. Can't block, can't block, can't block, can't block. That can. But that's such a bad card, hardly anybody plays it. Because it just drains away. That can't, that can't. Now we're into the 3s. And now you're starting to see, but there's an awful lot of 3s in here. Lunari Priestess is everywhere. Mentor of the Stones is everywhere. Phantom Prankster used to be everywhere. Solari Priestess is 100% everywhere. The Undying can't block. So, first 3 rounds, you, with the Fearsome keyword, are probably going to get in 6 odd damage free. Okay? Let them take their 1 back. By the end of round 4, you should be sitting on about 17. They'll be in around 13 or 14, depending on what you've got out. So let me show you why I have taken Absorb Soul out and replaced Pale Cascade. So Pale Cascade is right here. Give an ally 2-1 this round. Nightfall, draw 1. Nightfall is not a big thing in this deck. It would be much more efficient in well, any of the Nightfall-y kind of champion decks, to be fair. So people like Diana and Nocturne, they absolutely really need Nightfall. They've all got Nightfall triggers. We don't need Nightfall. And we want things to die. So why am I putting in a card that actually gives extra health? Well, the thought process was when you're going for the big swing at the end and you're like 1 or 2 short, Pale Cascade would win, but you would need to have it in hand. I've replaced it with this. We have little tiny things that don't do an awful lot. Okay? Like, he's a 2-1. Great Absorb Soul thing. And you'll also find that champions can level up by striking. Braum gets a 3-3. Overwhelm Poro the first time he's hit. If you have Absorb Soul, it only costs 1. You should always leave at least 1 over in this deck. Always. Because Absorb Soul drains 4 from an ally, which means even if you throw out ELISE and you get your wee 1-1 spider, 4, by killing it, will say stop Garen striking, which is excellent. It will then make sure that there's no damage going through when they're attacking. So doing it on defense is perfect, and you've just added 4 to the health of your Nexus. That's fantastic. This card is brilliant. Like, this is like Flock. So Flock does 4 damage. So does Callista's spell, which is Black Spear, used to do 3. If an ally died, you deal 4 to a unit, but that costs 3. We want to damage ourselves. I mean, that's pretty much what we're here for. And it keeps our Nexus ticking up really nicely. Mark of the Isles. Grant an ally 2/2 and ephemeral. Again, put this on something that will take out a champion. So if you're up against like Leona and you've got like a Doom Beast and you throw it out and it's blocked by Diana, if you've got that one, yeah, yours is going to die, but you're taking out a champion. That's brilliant. That's what I use Mark of the Eyes for. But it's very, very, very situational. And we're not running Hecarim, who needs a whole ton of ephemeral units to attack. It's just really good for superb blocks or that tiny extra bit of damage to push you over. And because we're running 2 of these, that's another reason why Pale Cascade is not in here. Stygian Onlooker has a Nightfall keyword. Only put this down on attack. This unit costs 1. The vast majority of the time, we're not playing anything on 1. Not a thing. You can't absorb soul. You can't mark of the Isles a unit that isn't there. And if you're playing this on 1 and it's the only thing you've got in your hand, he's just going to come out as a 2/1. After round 1, as long as you play this card not first, but second, third, or fourth, he becomes a 4/1 with Fearsome, and that's class. Like, that's just great. Do not lose that 2 power. It's too good to throw away. Just hold on to the mana and leave it for another turn. Let's go spiders, because that's what an Elise deck should be. And Elise, even if you play against the AI, and the AI decks are getting a lot better because they've got a lot more better cards, just like us as content creators and deck builders are making better decks. This started off just being with a whole load of Noxus stuff, a few extra spiders, all that kind of carry on. Brilliant, was so good, and it fell away. Now this is now coming back in a big, big way. And as you can see, if you kind of flip up things like Mobilytics or decks of Runeterra or out of cards or things like that, you will find Elise Fearsome decks, and they're all slightly different, and it's all down to personal choice. Arachnoid Horror is brilliant. It's a 3/2. It only costs 2 mana, and it has Fearsome. Brilliant workhorse of this deck. Elise, our first champion. Attack, you get your little spider. If you get a second one in your hand, you will get Crawling Sensation, which is if something dies, believe me, things die a lot in Shadow Isles, but that's a good thing because you can always get things from it. So if Absorb Soul is giving you 4 to your Nexus by hitting it for 1, you can put this down and summon 2 spiders. That's really critical because if you have 3 other spiders in your deck, she levels up and then becomes this. The Spider Queen Elise, who still has Fearsome, now has Challenger, and all her other spiders now have Fearsome and Challenger. All good, right? I think that's cool. Glimpse Beyond. This is my one-off. Glimpse Beyond is brilliant because it draws you cards. But we've got enough things in here that drawing cards in this deck doesn't really make that much of a difference. That's a controversial thing from a person who adores getting extra cards in a card game. I think it's almost ridiculously advantageous and almost bordering on cheating, but it's not. But on this one, only really good if you have absolutely nothing else. Or you're down to like 2 cards and your opponent has 6 or 7. Pretty good to take out the smallest unit that you've got, which will probably be like the tiny little spider, the spiderling, or a Stygian Onlooker, something like that, that isn't going to over impact your thing, and you gain 2 cards. So 2 cards, pretty decent. The main boy, and what this deck actually wins with. This is the Mistwraith. Fearsome 2/2. When summoned, grant every other allied Mistwraith everywhere. And everywhere is in play, in hand, in deck, in discard, and even if created or summoned later, it gets 1+ power. Hugely important. Why is that important? Well, because probably by the time that you play the most expensive card in this deck, your Mistwraiths are going to be 7/2s. All at Fearsome and do cataclysmic damage that nothing can really stop whatsoever unless you have got an enormous sized deck. that will be able to hold it off that are all high-powered units. It's the only thing this deck struggles with are big units from Freljord and dragons. And outside of that, this deck wins all the time. This boy is, without fail, the number one most important card in the deck. We have ways of getting other ones as well. It is just great. It is just fantastic. And as we go through the deck, I will explain more to this. Now, here is a card that is but still really, really good because it gives you card draw. So you're going to pick a follower from the top 4 cards in your deck. Sometimes there will be none, and you've wasted 2 mana. Other times there will be all 4. Normally it's about 1, 2, or 3. You get to pick whatever one that you want. You draw it, and then you get another one that's ephemeral in hand as well. So look at the deck that you're playing against. Look at what you need. Do you need another Fearsome unit? Do you need something that will reduce their attack, which we have cards that do that too. Every single card in this deck has got a trick up its sleeve or down its leg or whatever it happens to be. Pick the one that is most important, and the most important thing is, can you play the ephemeral one that round? So if they're blocking, this is burst speed, which means you get a follow-on action. Okay? Unlike a fast spell or a slow spell, burst means you can do it, it can't be blocked, and then you get another go. Really, really important to remember that you get to go again with all these burst speed spells. Like Absorb Soul can be stopped. I mean, it can, but this can't. So we're running 3 of these. And then we have another Nightfall unit in Doombeast. Now, Doombeast, I've only recently put back into the deck. At one stage, I was running Bark Beasts. That's the 1/1 that when something dies, it becomes 3/3. That's solid for 1 mana. Most people kind of put him out at the far right-hand side. I've seen people take 6 damage to stop the Bark Beast going to a 3/3. So, you know, it is exactly... Well, it's pretty horrible if that happens. But Doombeast is far better. Costs 3 times as much, but you almost get triple the stats. Plus, if you don't play this first, but second or third or whatever, you drain 2 from the enemy nexus. So it's 2 out of theirs and 2 into yours. That's, hello, that's what drain is. Brilliant card, 3 of. Now, let's get back to a bit of spiders, eh? Fearsome, Frenzied Skitter. When I'm summoned, give all my spider allies +1 and enemies -1. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I have put this deck into Nocturne and I'm losing the will to live today, honestly, I really am. Like Diana decks, all Nightfall decks. The fact that this does what it does, especially in the Fearsome deck, remember they've got to have 3 power. If you're up against a whole load of like Mighty Poros and they're all 3/3s, drop this down. All your other spiders, including hopefully ELISE, get a bump up of 1 power, and they drop down to 2/3, which means they can't block anything, and you go clean out, which is fantastic. So obviously, in a spider deck, we're going to have more spiders. This are more spiders because we have this one, we have the Arachnoid Horror, we've got ELISE herself, and all that sort of kind of carry on. So lots of spiders in the deck, but it's not a spiders deck, which is why it's fearsome, because you know everything in here, fearsome, fearsome, fearsome. Oh look, our other champion, Callista. Callista is fantastic. And all she's got to do is see 3 allies die. And in a deck where a lot of things die, because you want them to die, please believe me, I want you to die. That is pretty damn decent. She's 4/3, she becomes a 5/3, and once she levels, this happens. You revive an attacking ephemeral copy of the strongest dead ally follower. This round, they're bonded, and it takes damage for me. So you can throw out Callista with total absolute impunity. Don't worry about it, because all the damage is going to go into the other unit, which could just be a Spiderling. Never really is. It's probably something like a Stygon or a MISTWRAITH or something like that. That takes all the damage, no matter how powerful the other unit is. Yes, if it's Garen, say for instance, he's still striking, but he's striking something else. If you're up against Trundle, Trundle whacks that into there. Even if you're just up against a good, decent unit like a Radiant Guardian or the Moose from Demacia or Nautilus, it doesn't really matter. All the damage will go into the bonded unit. So Callista takes the heat off ELISE because people want to kill Callista, because then when you throw her out again, she's fearsome. If one of the units that is dead before is fearsome, that's what we want to do in the next turn on every attack. We want to attack with fearsome units, putting tons of pressure. And like Burn Aggro, for instance, is right back. There's a Teemo Burn Aggro deck that Swim has just made. It looks fantastically fun, but it's really low powered. It's super low powered. Fearsome decks just eat them alive. I told you earlier that this is the workhorse of the game, and we've only got 3. Well, that's lies, because we have 6 other cards that give us that. The first one is Risen Mist. This is burst speed. Summon a Mistwraith. That can't be stopped. But remember, every single time when you summon a Mistwraith, the ones that you've already got out are now bumped up. And if you end up with like 3 of them, then now you've got, now it's a 3-2, a 4-2, a 5-2. The fourth one that you put out is now a 6-2. That's highly, you've got 9 chances to get these out. If the biggest unit that's dead so far is a Mistwraith, you put down Callista on turn 3 while defending it, and a couple of other things die, but nothing as big as a Mistwraith, it comes out and bumps up another one. So Callista can always bump it up as long as you don't lose something more powerful than the 2-2 Mistwraith. But as he's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it's normally always a Mistwraith, which is why Callista is in this deck and nothing else. But the fact that she's also got Fearsome. So you can see where we're going here. And Wraithcaller is the thing that can sometimes ruin you. But he's a 4-3. But he will only ruin you to the fact that you only need 2 Mistwraiths to die, because the first one makes it a 3-2, the second one makes it a 4-2, and if you summon another one and it dies, then he then becomes Callista's thing and it gains more fearsome. The only problem with Wraithcaller is he doesn't have fearsome in the title, and there's nothing I can find that makes something fearsome, because you would put it on the Wraithcaller and then everything, this deck would be utterly busted. But there is a way to make it even more busted. A one-off atrocity. Kill an ally to deal damage equal to its power to anything. You smash this into the Nexus as soon as you have a unit in there, and it can't be denied or notified or anything silly like that. Notified won't work at all because it costs more than 3. The only thing that can stop this is actually killing the unit dead with something like Vengeance or a big thermal beam, or one of the spells that, like, if it's been damaged or whatever, there are ways to stop atrocity working, which is why I'm only using 1 when in older decks I was running 3. And the final one is my favourite spell in the game of all time. Do this on attack. If you've banked 3 mana, by round 6, if you're attacking on 6 or on 7, you can play this in round 6 with the 3 spell mana that you've banked, where you revive the 6 strongest allies that died this game and grant them Ephemeral. So if Callista has died, if ELISE has died, those are all fearsome. If she has leveled, or if Callista's leveled, she's bringing out hopefully another fearsome. I assume by this stage something like a Frenzied Skitterer will have died, Mistwraiths will have died, Arachnoid Horrors will have died, and they can't cope with it. To be running 3 of these is bordering on using the Force in Star Wars against Jar Jar Binks. You could do it with your eyes closed. There was a deck with Darius and this, and it won everything. The Harrowing with ELISE and Callista and Fearsome. It's one of my most fun decks I have ever played in my life, and it is superb to climb with. The deck code for this will be in the pinned comments. Thank you so much. This was actually a lot longer than what I expected it to be. So I'm going to knock off now. My name is Sith Holocron. Take the deck code, reply in the comments, come and join us on Discord, and until the next video, thank you so much for watching. Dongers out.